Hello again. Welcome to our study. It's good to have you here. Niburu. What is it? Where is it? Who is it? All of those questions. So for those of you who are scientific minded, from time to time I get people asked questions with regards to some of the things they've heard or read about. And so over the last couple of years, there's been people that have said that Niburu is real, that it's headed this way. So how do we look at that? What do we say about it? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of Niburu 101 and what this actually means. And understand something. We are in God's hands. Regardless of what science agrees or disagrees, we are in his hands. So again, if we can look at Niburu as something as of prophetic implications, we have no worries. We are in the hands of God. So we're going to study Niburu. Join us for session 1, and we'll finish this up in session 2. So let's pray. Father, once again, it's an honor, a joy, a privilege, a pleasure to come to you praying, thanking you, and knowing that you hear us. Bless us in our endeavors to understand the intricacies of your word and the world in which you've given us. Bless us, and we'll give you praise in Jesus' name. So, Niburu, session number 1. Well, consistent in astronomy is the idea that we are in the Milky Way galaxy, and this solar system is made up of 9 planets. Now, while there may be some who differ with the idea that Pluto is actually a planet, we still, for the most part, are in agreement that there are a series of 9 planets within the system that rotate around the sun. Our solar system, according to the astronomers, is a small system, as there are others that are far larger than the one we abide in. Man, with his advanced technology, has yet to reach the far areas of God's universe and observe what lies light years away. We simply stare at the evening sky and marvel at what we cannot comprehend and know that God has designed it all. We rest in hope that someday we'll see him as he is. Until then. Well, how big? Just how big is it out there? Well, using a basketball to represent the sun at the center of our solar system, a pinhead represents Mercury, placed about 12 yards away. That's 12 yards away from the basketball, so that's the sun. The next object representing Venus is placed about 22 yards from the sun. The Earth is placed 31 yards from the sun. The farthest planet, Pluto, is just a grain of sand, actually 2 grains in our model, because Pluto's satellite, Charon, is about half the diameter of Pluto, and Pluto's average distance from the basketball would be about 3,400 feet. Finally, note that the nearest stars, the Alpha Centauri system, are represented by a basketball and 2 other somewhat smaller balls placed some 4,300 miles away. So, yeah, it's a pretty big place out there. Well, are there more than 9? Are there more than 9 planets? Well, there are many who are now considering the idea that the data and the available technology suggest there may be more than 9 planets in our solar system. Now, this so-called planet is entitled numerous things, most often called Niburu, Thor's hammer, or simply Planet X, X meaning 10, or the 10th planet. So what if there are more than 9 planets in our solar backyard? What difference would it make to us? Well, could it or would it affect us in a positive way, or does that data paint a different picture? Well, the naysayers conclude the following. The Niburu cataclysm is supposedly a disastrous encounter between the Earth and a large planetary object. Okay, a collision or a near miss that certain groups believe would take place in the early 21st century. Believers in this doomsday event usually refer to this object as Niburu or Planet X. While the initial offering of such a theory may have come from questionable sources, we can conclude that scientific teams have been scouring the heavens looking for this elusive planet headed in Earth's orbital path. Now, regardless of where the information comes from, the astronomers have spent thousands of hours scouring the deep space looking for and identifying this elusive planet called Niburu. Well, Niburu, Planet X, Nemesis, the Destroyer, Wormwood, sometimes it's called, Comet, Typhoon, expected in the year whenever. Is it real? Does it take Niburu 3,607 years to complete one orbital journey? Well, as you can imagine, the gravitational effects of a sizable planet moving close to the inner solar system would spell big trouble for planet Earth and the other planets in our solar system. Now, the current hypothesis shows Pluto in an elliptic orbit of some 248 years to circle the Sun. Mercury, the closest to our Sun, has an orbit of 88 days. But 3,600 years? Well, some have offered these pictures as proof that there's something else out there. Dual pictures of dual things out there, and these pictures are taken supposedly at different places during different times of the year in different places throughout our globe. Some have said sometimes in Australia and other places. In other words, we don't see them here in our atmosphere where we're at right now, but these pictures have been forwarded to me. Now, this talks about Niburu down there on your bottom left. That's the planet that's 3,600 years and its travel all the way around the sun. Once again, we see two objects in the sky. Well, just exactly how big is it? Well, this is not a black hole. It's a planet. And there we see it in Hawaii, the United Kingdom. And again, different times of the year in different places, only for brief moments of time, maybe days at a time. And there's a better idea as just a big, how large this orbit is of 3,600 years. And there you see our mock-up or our model, and we of course are the Earth there, and so we see that Niburu, the orbit of Niburu is huge, 3,607 years, as they say. It has a debris tail, as they estimate, of 15 million miles long. Additionally, observers have concluded that it also has some 7 planets traveling with it. Well, what does NASA say? This ought to be good. NASA has released a statement providing evidence of a 9th planet that might be 10 times the mass of Earth and 20 times more distant from the Sun than Neptune. But the premier space organization has had to take time to debunk myths that the planet dubbed Niburu by doomsayers will cause the end of the world. In response to NASA's statement, Caltech researcher Randall Smith had this to say, quote, "For NASA to minimize the threat to our Earth by calling it a close flyby is insulting to our research. We have concrete evidence that proves Niburu is headed straight for Earth with a collision that will destroy life as we know it." Now that comes from NASA. Oh, that's comforting. Well, recent news briefs stated the following: our planet is restless and its poles are wandering. The geographic North Pole is still in the same place it always was, but its magnetic counterpart, indicated by north on any compass, is roaming towards Siberia at a record-breaking pace. In recent decades, the magnetic North Pole accelerated to an average speed of 55 kilometers or 34 miles per year. The most recent data suggests its movement toward Russia may have slowed down to about 40 or 25 miles annually. But even so, compared to theoretical measurements going back hundreds of years. This is a phenomenon scientists have never witnessed before. And there's a link there at the bottom if you want to look this up. Niburu is a magnetic planet. Now, this would cause the Earth to tilt in space as it passes. Niburu is believed to have 4 times the diameter of Earth and is 23 times more massive, a truly gigantic planet. According to ancient texts, Niburu is wrapped in a cloud of iron oxide dust, making the rivers and lakes acquire a reddish color. Well, according to self-proclaimed ancient languages scholar Stitchin, the Sumerians knew of an extraplanet beyond Pluto. This extraplanet was called Niburu. Stitchin goes on to claim that Niburu passes through our solar system every, here again, 3,600 years. And if the Earth tilts, then what? Magnetic pole shift. What would that mean? Well, considering the bantering of the naysayers and believers in the soon-to-come apocalypse, the idea that the magnetic Earth with its pole shifting is something scientists have grave concern over. So what if the poles of our planet shift, then what? Well, while it might be easy to dismiss any significance with such an event, we must consider the following. The North Pole may not necessarily swap places with the South Pole. North Pole might be in Brazil? Really? Consider the consequences if our planet's rainforests suddenly become an ice-covered plain. What happens to Antarctica? Well, Antarctica's ice sheet is one of 2 polar ice caps on the Earth. It covers about 98% of Antarctica's continent and is the largest single mass of ice on Earth. It covers an area of almost 14 million square kilometers and contains 26.5 million cubic kilometers of ice. A cubic kilometer of ice weighs approximately 1 metric gigaton, meaning that the ice sheet weighs 26,500 gigatons. A lot of numbers there, folks. Approximately 61% of all fresh water on Earth is held in Antarctica's ice sheet. Read that again. 61% of all fresh water on the Earth is held in the Antarctica ice sheet. The ice at its thickest point is some 3 miles thick. So you have to ask yourself a question. What if it turns 33 degrees, 40 degrees, 90 degrees? Then what? If all the ice covering Antarctica, Greenland, and in mountain glaciers around the world were to melt, sea level would rise about 230 feet. The ocean would cover all the coastal cities, and land area would shrink significantly. But many cities, such as Denver, well, they would survive. And there's a map of someone that says, well, this is what's going to happen, and those folks in blue, they're underwater. Pole shift. It's happened before. Many surmise that the flood of Noah was caused by a pole shift. Whether or not this is the case, we are certain that pole shifts have happened in the past, and should we believe that an exoplanet such as Niburu is in orbit, we can conclude that any planet that comes near or has a near pass by our planet will be adversely affected. Both planets will. It's hard for us to imagine the magnetic pull of a body that size. Well, here's the pertinent questions. Why would NASA hide the effects or downplay the scenario of a possible Niburu pass-by? Why would they state those facts? Why would they do that? Why cause untold panic for an already fear-mongering populace? So let's read the first question again. Why would they hide the effects? And then the answer is, why would they state those facts? Why cause untold panic for an already fear-mongering populace? We're all scared of everything anyway. If the scenario is based upon undeniable fact, then why alarm the masses with a scenario that we can't control anyway? So what do? Throw up your hands and say, well, I guess we're dead come, oh, when? Next century? 10 centuries from now? Next month? Do they really know? Catastrophic circumstances prompt panic and hysterical actions. People do not think rationally if they're faced with death. Oh, and by the way, in case you haven't heard, NASA stands for never a straight answer. Because, hey, the truth isn't always necessary. Well, that'll clear us up on this first study. We'll conclude this study in a second session. So be with us when we do that. Be safe, be blessed, and we'll see you on the next study when we'll talk about Niburu and just what might happen sometime. We'll see you then.